Here's the original I had, and it broke. And here's a replacement that I picked up on eBay. This one's a lot shinier than the replacement. If you look at this carefully, you can see they didn't do a great amount to polish this out. There's still pitting in here and imperfections when it catches the light just right. But this was nickel plated, and on this one I think by and large it has worn off. And when I was putting it back together, to get it to cut flat from one side of the iron to the other, this side here, as you're looking at it, seems to be sticking out further into the mouth than this side over here. And both of these sides are cutting equally. And I don't know how well this is going to show up. You can see that the plain iron is skewed compared to the cap iron. The sole here, this machined surface, the side over here on the right is taller than the side over here on the left. And I've spent a little time sanding and filing it to try to flatten it out. And you can just see a little hint of the original machine marks over here. In this whole surface across, I've been removing material. And I rest it against the supports here. The file actually slides under the mouth here, and on this side it hits, again to indicate that the right side is sitting high compared to the low side. Fortunately, I have some needle files, so I'm able to get down in there, and by being very careful to hold approximately the correct angle, I've been able to file. And these files are thinner, so they actually fit under the throat. I'll take a Sharpie and put a series of black marks, because it's very important that this stays very flat. And I have an old plain iron that I don't use, an extra one, and I glued a little bit of sandpaper to it. And you can put that in here and start sanding to get an idea of how flat you've been filing. I've got a high spot kind of in the middle over here, but it's not too far out of flat. I got some dark marks over here, and the rest of it's slowly sanding away. Every few minutes I blacken this entire machine surface. I have a little piece of sandpaper that I put in the mouth, and this iron has some sandpaper on the back of it, and you can slide it in and sand like so to make sure you're maintaining proper flatness and the proper angle. The iron is resting on the supports, and that gives you an indication of just how flat and how perfect you are. So this is pretty good. Well, it took me many hours to get this pretty close to true. I would file and file the right side and try to flatten it over toward the left. Then I would blacken it, and to sand it, I cut a piece of sandpaper and I would slide it in the mouth. And then this iron has a piece of sandpaper glued on the back, and I would put the iron in place and sand it like so to get an idea of how flat and true this had. And then the shiny spots I would file a little more, and when I got it close enough, I have another piece of sandpaper that's a finer grit. This is 180. That would go in here, and I would do the same procedure, and then put this iron over it and sand like so. So it still has some scratches in it and some file marks, but 99% of it's pretty flat. Well, here it is reassembled, and it's doing very well. The iron is just poking through the mouth. You can barely see it, but you can feel it. I don't know how well it's showing up. And if you look at it from this angle, it looks like it's much more uniform from east to west, and the cap iron seems to be more square to it. So this video has illustrated some of the consequences of buying a cheap tool, especially in a family of tools where the prices can get much higher and the levels of precision can be much higher. Despite all the efforts that I put into tuning up this plane and get it to be the best plane that it can be, there are still certain things that a plane like this can do with very little effort that a plane like this will never really be able to do. And that's just something to keep in mind. Thanks.